When Harry met King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands, the Dutch monarch made sure to let him know who is the boss. But this could be the least of Harry's problems, as you're about to find out. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. Harry's position at BetterUp is in trouble because the startup's life coaches are increasingly concerned about the actual benefit of his role as Chief Impact Officer. According to the Daily Beast, none of the coaches are clear about Prince Harry's role at the company. Well, to be fair, we neither. The uprising has been produced not only by Harry's murky terms and conditions, but also by changes in the way coaches get paid for sessions with BetterUp clients. They are going to be paid based on reviews, with metrics such as how life-changing a client found your guidance. Yeah, the more likes you get, the better you're paid. That makes no difference from your regular TikToker. So the question is legit. How much is Harry being paid to be warm in that chair? Because his paycheck should be based on reviews too. He will make a killing with metrics such as how many times you sound like a crybaby or how good you are at photoshopping your buns. But it was at the Invictus Games where King Willem-Alexander was really quick to let it be known who's the boss. And this proves the importance of good posture. According to public records, Harry should be at least 3 centimeters or roughly 1 inch taller than the Dutch monarch. But from 2 different angles, it looks like the king is taller. It might be due to the fact that Harry had his usual slouching posture with both hands on his belly, like he was just realizing that he ate one too many pickled herrings. And the king used one of the most important body language tips that you can ever learn. Always extend your hand first. Okay, I understand that could be part of protocol, but how many times have you actually seen Harry behaving by the rules? Extending your hand first makes the other person lower their gaze, which is exactly what happens with Harry. And you can focus in your own posture and eye contact. Very powerful gesture. But it's not only with his handshake that Willem-Alexander established who was the real rock star. He made sure to greet the people attending the meeting, and they were really excited to see him there. You know the hardcore fans are going to claim that those cheers were for Harry, but here's the soundproof to rest my case. Yeah, they definitely love him. And notice that at the same time, Harry didn't wait until he stopped greeting the public. He was already turning his back on them and even stepping away from the king. That kind of actions, combined with his posture, are signals that he was not that comfortable at that moment. And it's a shame because I'm sure that there were attendants that wanted to take a picture of both of them. Well, at least they got moonwalking Harry. And in body language, there are always small details that can go unnoticed, like maybe you didn't pay attention to Willem-Alexander's hands before and after the handshake. One thing I noticed is that right after the greeting, his hand closed rather quick. This could be a signal that the person doesn't feel relaxed in that proximity with another. In fact, you can see a similar tension with his left hand, the one that is holding his jacket and at the same time was forming some kind of barrier between himself and Harry. But you have to make sure that any gesture is not part of the person's baseline or their common body language. And in this case, I did some research and realized that it's quite common for the Dutch king to have his hands a bit closed even after a handshake. So in this case, it's not that Harry smelled bad or anything, it's just Willem-Alexander's common body language. But what about the moment they were sitting together? Well, at first sight, you might feel that they were uncomfortable, and it might be due to the fact that the space was really cramped. Fortunately, both men managed to make the best of the small chairs, and Harry remained on his side, unlike other moments in these Invictus Games where he was maybe a bit too friendly. It is no surprise that Harry had moments where he looked a bit bored, with his fingers intertwined and displaying a scene of good posture that is putting one shoe over the other. But this is the kind of postures that we are used to with Harry, being always a bit awkward, a bit uncomfortable no matter the situation. And regarding Willem-Alexander's crossed arms, they have no further meaning besides wanting to keep his personal space and not let his elbows invade his neighbors. There are many meanings to crossed arms, but in this case they were no big deal. So whether it's Harry trying to keep BetterUp afloat or trying to behave like he actually cares about what he's doing at the Invictus Games, it will always generate headlines. And those headlines have become more and more damaging for the royal family, both directly and indirectly. Even the Queen has been smeared by how Harry has suggested that she could fix his security concerns for a visit so she can meet Lilibet. But there are always silver linings, and it's not hard to imagine that this situation has helped William and Charles become even closer, not only as father and son, but also the ones that have more and more responsibilities on the public perception of the British royal family. And we already know that part of Charles' plan is to have a reduced circle of working royals, more efficient than ever. And that must be one of the reasons we had this joint engagement between Princess Anne and Catherine. It was the first time that the two royals shared duties, and they were visiting a maternal health care center. The first thing that struck me when I saw their pictures is how nice were they coordinated in terms of color. And no, color is not part of body language, but is part of the umbrella term of nonverbal communication. Color has an immediate impact on your feelings, and their combination was really pleasant to watch, very professional and sober. In terms of body language between Anne and Catherine, there was a very interesting dynamic where it was not hard to see that Catherine was very mindful of being led by the most experienced Princess Royal. Anne, on the other hand, had her usual energy, very strong stride, but also made sure to connect often with Catherine so she could feel at ease. It's no wonder that most fans of the royal family want to see them having more joint engagements in the future. In those interactions between Anne and Catherine, something very interesting occurred, and it has to do a lot with being able to spot if a person is more sensitive than others. They were around a table with what I hope was a dummy that the center uses to train midwives. I couldn't hear what they were saying at that moment, but it's not hard to see that Catherine had a funny reaction displayed on her face. This is a good example of what is called a mixed or combined emotion, where you have two different emotions displayed at the same time. It usually happens when there's one rational emotion that you want to display on purpose, but the underlying second emotion is also displaying. My best guess is that they were talking about the birthing process and her mirror neurons flare, imagining or maybe recalling the pain related to this. That must also be the reason why she brings her head backwards, like she wants to physically retreat from that feeling. And finally, I couldn't resist the temptation of making an animated GIF with Anne's raised eyebrow. You can always get this and other royal body language clips and memes on my Twitter and Instagram accounts. If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies. Much love and bliss.